All right, welcome to another expert interview. I am here with Katie Riess from KT Media Strategies, and we are going to talk about publicity and next steps for after your book is done, even before your book is done, some things to talk about. So I'll just turn it over to Katie, let you kind of introduce yourself a little bit if you want. We can just dive right in.
Yeah, so I've been working with Meredith. We actually do a mastermind together for a couple years now. So it's great to be joining you again and talking about publicity because it's one of the things that people wait till the last minute to do and then they don't know what to do and they're scrambling. So our objective is to make sure that doesn't happen to you.
Mhm.
And you are in such good hands with Meredith. But I am a publicist. I was a TV news producer for a long time for local news, for CBS News, for a Bloomberg TV show. And then I decided I really wanted to help people and authors and entrepreneurs, small business people, um, get their message out to the masses instead of just helping big news organizations and conglomerates. Even though the news is very important and I'm still a news junkie at heart, I definitely have enjoyed and have gotten so much fulfillment out of concentrating on getting people's message out there and really catapulting their businesses and their books and everything through publicity in getting media placements. So the first thing I kind of want to go over that Meredith and I talk a lot about in our mastermind too is um, not waiting till the last minute to think about the marketing and publicity of your book. You have spent a lot of time already planning and already starting to write. And now it's like, okay, what do I do with marketing? And if you've gone through the motion of really getting to know your audience and done your research there, which I know Meredith has helped you to do, then you should be in a really good position to know how to reach that audience, or at least have an idea of how to reach that audience to be able to market your book to them. Some of the things that we talk about and that I recommend is going back to that research and seeing where this audience hangs out and what media in particular they read, watch, and listen to. What podcasts? Podcasts are a great way to sell books, you guys. Radio and podcasts, because you can spend more time talking about your subjects on those types of media. Everybody thinks, I want to be on Good Morning America. You know, my book is the best book ever, and I'm going to land that great morning television spot, right, Meredith?
Yep, that's everybody wants that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's normal. But we really, really want to actually hone in on your audience and get to them. And your audience probably is not watching Good Morning America. They are listening to different podcasts. They are reading different publications that are more geared towards what they're interested in. So it's finding those types of media and kind of just start making a list, start plotting out and making a list is my best advice for you, even while you're still writing. I think while everything is still fresh, start making a list of that media that you, book bloggers, book reviewers, like start going through all of that and start just making lists. It's take it in small chunks too. Don't try to do it all at once because you'll get overwhelmed at how much work goes into it. But if you think, okay, I'm going to spend a half hour every other day looking up some different magazines or some different online publications and writing them down, seeing if they cover things that your book also broaches the topic with, then you are already starting your marketing plan. And it's really, really important to do that while you're still writing and while your audience is still fresh in your mind and you're writing to that audience as you go, hopefully, so that then you know who exactly that is so that you know how to reach them through media.
Exactly. One of the things that I talk about with some of my clients is the idea of separating out what you want to fill your author ego and what is actually going to sell your books. And so like the Good Morning America is really a nice ego moment, but it's not necessarily a book selling moment per se. And it seems counterintuitive. It seems like, well, if I'm on Good Morning America and all those people hear about my book, then obviously I'm going to sell 1 million books. but that's not really how it works, right?
No, I mean, that's a good credibility piece that you can use to put in your marketing in terms of bragging that you were, we say bragging, but just
Mhm.
pointing out that you were on a major television show or in a major publication that you may be quoted in, but that it doesn't necessarily translate into selling books because that's not necessarily your audience. You
Exactly.
want to go to where your audience is. Even if it's a very niche publication,
Mhm.
you will get way more sales from that niche publication than a larger publication or a larger TV show that isn't where your audience is.
Yeah. I had the story I always tell is I had a client years ago who his book was featured by the Travel Channel on their blog, and on someone mentioned it on one of their actual shows. And he sold a couple books, but it didn't have nearly the impact that a small travel blogger had, because that was more of his audience. So even though he had national exposure, it helped a little, and it certainly helped him get other interviews and other bloggers and other podcasts, because like you said, it's that credibility piece. But it was not this sort of like game changing, blow the
Mm-hmm.
lid off it experience. And it's hard to kind of, I think, for a lot of people, wrap their head around that concept, but that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. So when your number one thing is to try to market this book. Obviously, those bigger interviews for and publications are great, like you said, but that's kind of the icing on the cake. It
Mhm.
shouldn't be where you focus first. Your first focus should really be in those smaller niche publications if that's where your audience is. If your audience is, watching the Today Show and Good Morning America, then that's great. Just know that those are also a lot more difficult to get on, and you need a lot of a longer lead time to pitch to them. It can't be that, my book's coming out next week and I'm going to pitch them and get on next week. That's just not going to happen. You have to give it some lead time and allow for some back and forth to happen. Um, but that's really what I would suggest in getting ready for publicity and marketing for your book, is just start making those lists of publications and start making the lists of places that you really want to target for
Mhm.
right now. And then you can get into which contacts at those places and how exactly to pitch them and all of that. But for right now, I think it's a good place um, to just be making those lists and really just focusing on the where for everything, where you're going to start really targeting.
And that you made the point that sometimes you need more lead time than other times, and I think that is a really
Mm-hmm.
important point as well. And that is a lot of authors make this mistake where they get all done with the book and it's 100% done, it's published and it's ready to go on sale, and then they start researching who can talk about my book. And there are some outlets that won't even consider a book that's already been published. They want it ahead of time, or only within a certain number of weeks or months of the book coming out, and you can miss that window if you wait
Mm-hmm.
until the book is 100% done and on sale before doing that research, right?
Yeah, a lot of people will ask for review copies. And so it's important to also be thinking about at what stage will you have those review copies to give to people, those advanced copies.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's in a PDF form, that's okay. Some people still like the hard copy. So when and the media for the most part and bloggers and reviewers know that if it's a review copy, it's not completely finished. So you may not have all the endorsements on there yet. You may not have a final manuscript put together, but if you can get the PDF or get some copies printed to send to the media ahead of time, I would say at least 6 weeks ahead of time. A lot of times I say 3 months ahead of time if you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're self-publishing, it's not, you may not have it 3 months out where it'd be ready to put into a review copy, but as soon as it is, have that pitch ready to go, so that you need the list ready to go,
Mm-hmm.
so that you have that review copy to them as far out as possible.
Yeah.
I had one client that she put out a book. It was a technical book, It wasn't, it was very technical, and it took one reviewer a year from when we sent him the book to
Wow.
when he actually put out the review. He
Wow.
still did it, which was nice, but it can take some people quite a long time. So you want to give yourself as much time in advance as possible. And I
Yeah.
know that can be kind of overwhelming and daunting, like, oh, another deadline to put on yourself, but just to have that in mind, to just be thinking about that, is way ahead of where a lot of people usually are when they're talking about marketing their books. They're like, wait, how far in advance do I need to do this? But it's just good to keep in mind as much as possible. There's no magic date or magic number. There's
Yeah.
no magic number of reviewers you should be sending to. It's really, what your overall strategy entails.
Mhm.
And it's very specific to each person and each
Yes.
author, and their journey and their specific goals, with the book. So most people's goals vary, even if it's to increase the visibility of your business. It's still, your goals still vary a little bit. So that will change your strategy and change some of the timelines and things. But overall, the rule of thumb is as soon as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of the philosophy we take with Bisbo Rimo is, go all out, put everything you've got into it, and you'll get further than you would have anyway. Even if you don't 100% hit every marker, if you don't, get all your publicity ready to go 6 weeks out, but even if you get just 10 places ready to go 2 weeks out,
Mhm.
like you're still
Mhm.
ahead of where you would have been if you didn't try, and didn't put that effort in.
Yeah. I've had people come to me who are ready to publish and they're self-publishing, and they're like, well, we were thinking in 2 weeks. And I said, you haven't done any marketing yet. Is there any way? I've actually had them push out their publication date by another 6 weeks. So we had 2 months to work with. Um,
Yeah.
and that's pretty typical and pretty standard. But yeah, even if you're doing it a couple weeks before, you're still ahead of the game
Yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
talk a little bit about what you do. So if someone doesn't want to do this themselves, if they're overwhelmed enough by self-publishing and writing and all, and they want someone to help. So talk a little bit about who might hire you and what you would do for them.
Yeah, I do everything from get people ready with their lists and their audience. And we can do that in like a 90-minute session, or several 90-minute sessions where we discuss all of this preparation that you do, all the way to full book launch campaigns, which are at least 3 months long. So we want to start those 2 months ahead of time at least and go through the publication date. I'd like it to be 2 months in. So I'd like it to be 4 to 5 months, but at least 3 months, so that we have some time. And we do everything from help you figure out what those best publications to target are, the bloggers, the reviewers, who's going to, be realistic for you to get everything out and ready together in time, and put together the press release that goes along with that, and recommend what you should be putting on your website. Some people set up a separate book website that they link to their regular website. We kind of guide you through what is possible in the timing that you have. And then we come up with themes that are in your book, that then once the press release goes out, once the review copies go out, once we even set up events for people, book signing events or virtual events right now, help you brainstorm different ideas that you can do for a book launch. I'll give you an example of a really cool one in a minute, but then we take the themes from your book and come up with other pitches that we can do to the media that aren't directly related to your book publication, but it's showing your expertise and showing how the book can help people. And then we pitch out those to the media and hopefully get you some extra interviews and articles and everything. And then they mention the book while they're doing that, and it's a topic that's in the book and it's in the media, hopefully at the same time, so that it definitely gets people interested in the book as well. But one example of an event that we set up for somebody was, she was a feng shui expert, and she rented a hotel room. Obviously, this was, before COVID. She rented a hotel room in New York City and invited all the media in and walked them through what was good and bad about the feng shui of this gorgeous old hotel room. And we had 45 different media come to that.
Wow. Amazing.
And gave out copies of the book. But she did kind of tours around the room, and in the bedroom, this was good and this isn't good, and had little place cards at different places around the room. And it was, instead of doing a regular book signing, like, it was just a really cool way to engage with the media. And yeah, we had a ton of really excellent response. She did an Instagram takeover for Brides Magazine. So, we can branch out and do different things. Now people are doing a lot with YouTube channels, and you can do interviews there. I mean, the interviews that you can do really have extended because you can do them from home now. So we can figure out like a virtual tour type of thing for, like a media tour that you can do a whole bunch of interviews in one day about your book, and take the different themes out of your book and make them relevant to the media. So that's really what we do with book launch campaigns. But I also sit down, and in 90 minutes, we can go through and kind of figure out some of the publications based on your audience that you should be targeting. We can go through what goes into a press release. We can go through what different pitches look like. So, we can really tailor that time to what you feel like you need the most help with.
That's great. I think that is, I love that you have that range of options for authors that could do a little, they can go all the way, they could start with the 90 minutes and then hire you to do a bigger package for the ongoing stuff. And I think that the one thing that's interesting is now with everything that's happening with COVID is that more people have realized you can do a lot of stuff online. That you can do, that it's not that big a deal. It's not weird. It's not somehow less than to do a virtual interview. And I think that's going to actually help a lot of authors. And even after, we can still go back out in public and be around each other. But it's just, who wants to fly to California for an interview? But you could just sit on your computer and be California to Virginia, and it's fine. So I think that's
going to be, I think that's going to be the norm going forward too. I think not as many people are going to need to be doing interviews in person. I had a children's book author just yesterday. He was in 3 major cities across the country. Yeah, he was in Atlanta, Indianapolis, and DC in one day.
Right. You'd never be able to do that.
Yeah. Boosts his visibility and credibility tremendously in just a couple of hours. So it has definitely opened things up more, even though it's not in person. It's just as impactful.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to post links below this video to the mastermind, to your website, and anything else I could think of that will be useful. And you are also in the Booking It to Success group. So if anyone has questions for you, they can put them in the group, tag you, and you'll pop in and answer them as you have time. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview with us. It was great to have you here.
Of course. Yeah. And let me know what questions you guys have.
Yeah. Well, I'll make sure they post them, and I'll make sure you hear about them. So, all right.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.